So, and they were actually asking for our decision if we're gonna go for termination of pregnancy or not at that stage, early stage. So one thing I learned is like doctors really will give you the worst scenario.
Okay, we're live here at Get a Grip Studios with Joseph and Grace
Hi, good morning.
and Linda
Afternoon.
Bartzi, of course. Linda Bartzi from the Pregnancy Care Center.
Hi, Michael.
And we're here to discuss, some maybe a sensitive topic, but something that you're going to share a little bit about a pregnancy that was associated with a little bit of fear in the beginning
Yes.
and how you overcame that. So you have 2 children now, right?
3.
3 children, okay.
All girls.
All girls.
Don't know how to make a boy.
I have 3 girls too. I also have a boy. So tell me a little bit about, was it the first child?
This is our first child.
Mhm.
Back in 2004, during a routine ultrasound
Mhm.
checkup, we were held in there for like an hour because like the technologist was like checking, like did she do the right job and those kind of stuff. Then eventually we were sent to a hospital to do some checks and everything.
Special tests.
yes,
That's
some
what they call
And then we found out that our daughter has congenital diaphragmatic hernia. It's um it's it's a condition where the left side of her diaphragm did not form. So the bowels were spilled to the left side of the chest, preventing the left lung from growing, shifting the heart a little bit to the right, causing a lot of major heart problems, like holes in the heart and those kind of stuff. And when the doctors first sat us, he said, guys, your baby is incompatible with life, and you have the option of
of abortion.
termination of pregnancy. They don't say abortion.
Termination of pregnancy.
Okay.
That's right.
So, um, at first it was numbing, like as first time parents.
How far along were you at this point?
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
Like when you first check the gender,
Mhm.
we were hoping like it was like a surprise about the gender, but then it was more than a surprise. So then what followed was like every 2 weeks or every week we have
Mhm.
like an ultrasound appointment and check up with the doctors. And that term, termination of pregnancy, is always coming up. There will be times that you will be brought into the room, like after they've done a check, and then like, do you want to terminate the pregnancy? Um, I understand the medical professionals are not giving us much hope because they need to deal with the truth that they have. So how did we overcome that? Like around the time, um, was a very driven person, and as new immigrants in Canada, we wanted to, um, take life as it is, like
Mhm.
have a house, like the American dream, the Canadian dream. And then what happened here was like it was almost like a halt, a stop. Like you need to rethink of your priorities, matters of faith, like support systems. When these things happen, and that's what we did. So being people raised in faith, my wife and I met in a campus ministry. Um, she's my first girlfriend and last, and I'm also her first and last boyfriend. So we were hoping like family life would go smoothly. But then we hit this. We went back to God. We went back to prayer, and so here was the answer because this is the doctor's report. Like, but because the doctors, like that first doctor was asking us, like, what is your decision?
Mhm. They're
Are
asking for the
you
decision.
are you
actually.
terminating the pregnancy?
Mm.
The word that came was life is not just the abundance of things, not just eating, drinking, having a career,
Mhm.
not just biological life as we know
Mhm.
it, but life is being connected to the source of life.
Mhm.
Like we really do not produce life; it comes from a source.
So, but let me ask you this. So, because I'm going to play a little bit of devil's
Yeah.
advocate here,
Mm.
okay?
Yeah.
So, you guys are a stable married couple, right?
Mhm.
You have your
Mhm.
faith, and you're told that this is a scary thing to be told when you're a parent,
Mhm.
and there are children born with serious disabilities.
Yes.
Mhm.
What
That's
about
what
you,
they
Grace? How did
yeah,
you feel about this?
that's what they're saying actually when they say it's incompatible with life because she might be like,
Vegetative
vegetative
state
state
Sure.
when she and then
or
there's
die
or yeah,
in
stillborn. I
yeah.
think that's what they call it. So and they were actually asking for our decision if we're gonna go for the for termination of pregnancy or not at that stage, early stage. So one thing I learned is like doctors really will give you the worst scenario
Mhm.
and it depends on how you will take it. And I believe because of our faith, that's really what kept me, believing what I. It's also personal, it's my personal relationship with God. That
Mhm.
I also, if He has His own, prayer with God and talking to Him about the situation, I also have mine. So I'm willing. There's a time that I really surrender the baby to God. If you're gonna take my baby, then I give it, wholly, because she came from you. But if you're gonna give her back to me, give her back to me completely.
Mm.
So
Did you feel like you had love to love that child if that child didn't have complete ability?
i- one thing I learned about being a mom, there's this when the moment you see your baby, there's such like love that God has given you, to care for that baby. It's not the love that you have, but it comes from every mom. The first time you see your child, there's this unconditional love that you really have for that child. And I believe that kind of love from a mom to a baby just really comes from him, who is love himself. So I believe if he actually, when we had the baby, she was not in a complete state.
And we still
She
love her.
Yeah, she's actually 50, not the doctor says she's not even 50-50.
What do
So
you mean 50-50? What does that mean?
50-50 is like either she make it or not.
Oh,
Oh,
it's a
so she can.
Filipino term.
Sorry
We did not
guys.
realize it.
So she
50-50 is
so
like,
so you go ahead after the
yes,
three
we
and a half
did.
months or the
Yeah.
3 months. You move forward in uncertainty, and you're obviously like any parent making
Mm-hmm.
that decision. You're praying and hoping to have a fully healthy child, and that they
Mm-hmm.
were wrong, and then you give birth, and the baby's struggling for life.
Yeah, they did not even let her cry because it's really very what do you call that? I call it 50-50, but she's not even gonna make it, something like that.
Okay.
I gave birth in Mount Sinai, and
Mhm.
then they are supposed to bring her right away to Sick Kids.
Okay.
And that was the time they even asked us, do you want us to, call a rabbi or a pastor or somebody to pray for the child? So what they're saying is that the child may not make it. So I said, you know what, we're pastors, we're gonna pray for her. So when we prayed for her, and then uh, after that, that's when they brought her to Sick Kids. It took me like 80 days in the hospital to care for her there. She was in the NICU, they
Yeah.
call it, in the NICU. And each day, uh, you will see her. She had two surgeries. She had surgery on her 10th day, just for her to have a diaphragm. They need to put the diaphragm in. So I was there for like 3 months, but my faith is still there. Like, God, even if I'm seeing this baby, each day trying to live, the moment, because you gave her to me, I know you will be the one to heal her. So I believe my faith is there. That's the one that's keeping me. Um, and yeah, like it's a long journey for us. She had like 3 surgeries because the patch they put in keeps on tearing. And then, but now she is
15.
15 years old.
And no
And
puffers,
yes, no
no
puffers.
oxygen, nothing.
And
Yeah.
she's in school full
And she's
time
in
now.
school
Yes,
full
it's full
We
time.
were
time.
all waiting for that.
Yeah.
Thanks be
So,
to
you know
God.
what?
But you know what though? But that was a struggle for you guys.
It is. Yeah. Especially if you are asked to decide,
Hmm.
because if you're asked to decide whether you're gonna go for it, is a geneticist who really like talk to you, who are supposed to be the consultants or in that matter, right?
Linda,
So
how would the pregnancy care center help in that situation if someone has a ultrasound like that and they're really
Mhm.
scared? when they
Right.
come to you guys? What would happen?
Well, we'd want to, Michael, we want to make sure that they're, again, not alone. So we have a number of moms that would be willing to share their story and invite them over. We have children, for instance, of moms that have Down syndrome. And so they can tell a little bit about how their journey was. And they can be able to share, for instance, resources that they have. And we know these moms in no way regret giving birth to their child, as Grace has said, that there has been a love that and a joy that they have had through those children that they couldn't have imagined beforehand. They could only just see the difficulties and the fear, and so and then get them connected to the resources that would be there. Also, there's opportunities for an adoption plan. Some women would say, you know what, I'm really I can accept this child is having abilities, but I don't feel I'm the best one to parent this child. And so we would be able to bring in an adoption agency representative just to talk about the process and to give answers to some of those questions. But there are couples that would be feeling better equipped and are ready to equip children, to take care of children with special needs. And then we've had quite a number of other parents like that were in situations like Joseph and Grace that were told that they had a diagnosis and they were given the worst case scenario. But when actually the child was born, maybe there were some irregularities, but not to the degree that they had been concerned about. And so they realized that they held undue stress during pregnancy because some of the concerns that were there, either they didn't realize the level of help that was available, or that they could just share that with other people that really did understand and were going through some of these other tests and had sensed some of that anxiety. So we'd want to keep them supported.
How did you find support? Was it just you and Joseph together, or
It's me and Joseph. We have the church community always with us. At the same time, like, I am so thankful I am in Canada, because I think if we are not here with the free healthcare and all the support that the government really gives us, I think she wouldn't make it with all the facilities, because they really gave the best facility with my child. Um, but yeah, there's a lot. Even when she was in the what do you call this, in the elementary uh days, we have like itinerant teachers for her, because her hearing has been affected. But yeah, all throughout until today, we have like support from the government. So it would be good for them to know that there's a support available for them if they will go through with the pregnancy. So yeah, it's good to know that, because sometimes you think there's no, you're gonna just do it on your own. So I think one thing that I've learned is you have worry and you have fear because you are projecting your future without support or without God. But if you project your future with God already there, in that, in my future, I know that I'm not alone, and I'm gonna go overcome whatever trial I am